They slashed my hours without warning, expecting me to just take it. But I didn't sit quietly. I turned the tables. I uncovered their wasteful practices, exposed inefficiencies, and made them rethink everything. This is my story of fighting back, not with complaints, but with action. Stick around to see how I transformed a setback into a victory. I'd been at the company for 3 years, loyal and hardworking. My role in operations wasn't glamorous, but I kept things running smoothly. Then, one Monday, my manager called me in. "Budget cuts," she said. My hours were slashed by 20%. No discussion, no compromise. I felt blindsided, undervalued. My paycheck would take a hit, and so would my life. Rent, groceries, my daughter's school supplies, all now at risk. I couldn't just accept it. I started watching, listening, looking for answers. The company was bleeding money, but not where they thought. I'd seen the waste, unused supplies, redundant processes, hours of idle machinery. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this slide. I'd fight back in my own way. The next day, I walked into work with a new mindset. I wasn't just an employee anymore. I was a detective. My first stop was the supply room. Boxes of printer paper sat unopened, some expired, others damaged. Nobody tracked inventory properly. I counted at least $2,000 in wasted stock. I started taking notes, discreetly. My coworkers noticed my focus but didn't ask questions. They were too busy grumbling about their own hours. I wasn't here to complain. I was here to act. By lunch, I had a list of 5 major inefficiencies. This wasn't just about my hours anymore. It was about a system that punished workers while ignoring its own flaws. My manager, Karen, loved her spreadsheets, but they were a mess. She tracked employee hours meticulously but ignored operational costs. I asked her casually about the supply budget. She brushed me off, saying it wasn't my concern. That only fueled me more. I spent my breaks digging into old purchase orders. The company was over-ordering toner by 30% every quarter. Why? Because nobody reconciled orders with actual usage. Thousands of dollars sat in storage, collecting dust. I started sketching a plan to streamline it. If they wouldn't give me hours, I'd give them results they couldn't ignore. I noticed the warehouse next. Forklifts sat idle half the day, yet we paid for round-the-clock operators. Scheduling was chaotic. Nobody optimized routes or shifts. I timed the workers' movements for a week. On average, 15 hours a day were wasted on unnecessary trips. That was $10,000 a month in labor costs alone. I drafted a new schedule, cutting overlaps without reducing anyone's pay. It was simple, logical, but nobody had bothered to try. I kept my findings quiet, building my case. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about fairness. The break room was another goldmine. Employees left lights and coffee machines on overnight. Energy bills were through the roof, but nobody cared. I did a quick calculation. Shutting down unused appliances could save $500 a month. I proposed a checklist to the maintenance team. They laughed, thinking I was overstepping. But I wasn't asking for permission. I started turning things off myself, documenting the savings. By week's end, the utility meter showed a dip. Small, but real. I was proving my point, one switch at a time. My coworkers started noticing. "Why are you so obsessed?" one asked. I didn't tell them everything, just that I was tired of the waste. They didn't get it yet, but I saw the bigger picture. The company was cutting our hours to save money, but they were throwing it away elsewhere. I found expired contracts for unused software licenses, $15,000 a year down the drain. I flagged it for the IT department, anonymously. They didn't know it was me, but the contract was canceled within days. I was starting to feel unstoppable. The production line was my next target. Machines ran at half capacity because of poor maintenance. Downtime cost us $20,000 a month in lost output. I wasn't an engineer, but I knew how to read a manual. I suggested a preventive maintenance schedule to the floor supervisor. He was skeptical, but let me test it on one machine. Output increased by 10% in a week. I documented every detail, every saving. My notebook was filling up fast. I wasn't just cutting waste, I was building a case to save our jobs. I started timing meetings. Managers loved long, pointless discussions. One weekly meeting burned 30 staff hours. $1, $200 in wages for nothing. I proposed shorter, focused agendas via email. Karen ignored it, but I shared it with her assistant, who loved it. The next meeting was 15 minutes shorter. Nobody noticed the change, but I did. That was $300 saved in one session. I kept pushing, quietly, relentlessly. Every small win was a step toward proving my worth. The cafeteria was a mess. Food waste was rampant. We threw out 20% of prepared meals daily. I did the math. $8,000 a month in losses. I suggested smaller batch cooking and a feedback system for meal planning. The chef listened, intrigued. We piloted it for a week, and waste dropped by half. I added the numbers to my growing report. I wasn't just saving money, I was showing the company how to respect its resources. And I was doing it for all of us. By now, I had enough data to make waves. I compiled everything into a report: supply waste, energy costs, scheduling issues, software licenses, production losses, meeting inefficiencies, food waste. Total savings? Over $50,000 a month. I wasn't just fighting for my hours, I was fighting for a better company. I requested a meeting with Karen and the operations director. They didn't take me seriously at first. But I was ready. My evidence was undeniable, and I was about to change the game. The meeting was tense. Karen fidgeted as I laid out my findings. The operations director, Tom, raised an eyebrow but listened. I walked them through every inefficiency, every dollar wasted. I showed them the numbers: $50,000 a month, $600,000 a year. Their jaws dropped. I didn't mention my hours yet. I let the data speak. Tom asked for my report to review. I handed it over, 20 pages of cold, hard facts. For the first time, I felt seen. I wasn't just a worker, I was a problem solver. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. I kept working, kept documenting. Then Tom called me in. He'd read my report, shared it with the CFO. They were impressed but cautious. "Why didn't you bring this up sooner?" he asked. I wanted to say, "Because you never listened." Instead, I explained I'd only noticed the patterns after my hours were cut. It was true. Adversity had sharpened my focus. He nodded, thoughtful. They were considering my suggestions. I left the room hopeful but nervous. I didn't stop there. I tackled shipping costs next. We used multiple carriers with no rate comparison. I spent evenings researching better options. Switching to a single negotiated contract could save $12,000 a year. I emailed Tom directly, keeping Karen in the loop. She wasn't thrilled, but she couldn't argue with the numbers. The logistics team tested my plan, and within 2 weeks, we had a new contract. Another win, another step toward proving my value. My co-workers started asking questions. They saw me scribbling, meeting with managers. I shared bits of my plan, enough to inspire them. Some joined in, pointing out their own observations. One noticed we were double ordering cleaning supplies. Another flagged a broken time clock wasting payroll hours. We became a quiet rebellion, cutting waste from the ground up. I organized their ideas into my report, giving them credit. This wasn't just my fight anymore, it was ours. The company started implementing my changes. The supply room got a new inventory system. Forklift schedules were optimized. Lights went off at night. Meetings got shorter. The cafeteria reduced waste. Each change saved thousands, and I tracked every cent. By month's end, we'd cut $30,000 in costs without touching anyone's hours. I felt a rush of pride but kept my eyes on the goal. I wanted my hours back, and more. Karen called me in again. She looked uncomfortable but admitted my report had made waves. The CFO wanted to meet me. I prepared meticulously, updating my numbers, anticipating questions. The meeting was in a boardroom I'd never seen. The CFO, Linda, was direct. "Your ideas are saving us money," she said. "What do you want?" I took a deep breath. I wanted my hours restored and a role to keep cutting waste. I laid out my case, calm but firm. Linda didn't promise anything, but I saw respect in her eyes. She asked for a follow-up report in a month. I agreed, already planning my next moves. I started auditing travel expenses. Employees booked last-minute flights, costing double. A simple policy change, book 14 days in advance, could save $10,000 a year. I tested it with one department, and it worked. I added it to my growing list, feeling more confident every day. My coworkers were now fully on board. We formed an unofficial efficiency team. No titles, no budget, just us, working smarter. We tackled paper waste next. The office printed 10,000 pages a month, half unnecessary. I pushed for double-sided printing and digital approvals. Savings, $2,000 a month. We celebrated quietly, knowing we were making a difference. The company was starting to feel like ours again, not just theirs. Tom called me in for an update. He was blunt. My ideas were working, but I was stepping on toes. Karen felt threatened, he said. I didn't back down. I explained that waste hurt everyone, workers, managers, the bottom line. He agreed but warned me to tread carefully. I nodded, but I wasn't slowing down. I had momentum, and I wasn't going to lose it. My hours were still cut, but I was closer to fixing that. By now, my report was a living document, updated daily. Total savings climbed to $45,000 a month. I added a section on employee morale. Cutting waste boosted it. People felt heard, valued. I proposed a suggestion box for more ideas. Tom loved it, and it went live the next week. Ideas poured in, better recycling, consolidated deliveries, even a carpool program. Each one chipped away at waste, and I documented every win. The CFO meeting was a turning point. Linda had my updated report, now 30 pages. She grilled me on every number, but I was ready. I showed how we'd saved $45,000 a month so far, with potential for $80,000. She leaned back, impressed. "We're restoring your hours," she said. "And we want you on a new efficiency task force." I kept my composure but wanted to scream with joy. My plan had worked. Not just for me, but for everyone. The task force was small but powerful. Me, 2 co-workers, and a manager reporting to Tom. We met weekly, brainstorming more cuts. I suggested auditing vendor contracts. Some hadn't been reviewed in years. We found one charging 20% above market rates. Renegotiating saved $15,000 annually. My role was official now, but I stayed grounded. This wasn't about titles, it was about results. The suggestion box became a hit. Employees proposed everything from LED lighting to shared software licenses. We vetted each idea, implemented the best ones. Savings hit $60,000 a month. The company newsletter mentioned our work, calling us game changers. My co-workers beamed, and I felt proud. We weren't just saving money, we were building a culture of accountability. Karen wasn't thrilled, but she adapted. I worked with her, not against her. I shared credit, kept her in the loop. Slowly, she came around, even suggesting a few ideas. One was consolidating office supplies across departments, saving $3,000 a month. I praised her publicly, knowing unity was key. The company was changing, and we were all part of it now. I started training others on my methods. I held informal workshops, teaching coworkers to spot waste. They learned fast, and soon every department had an efficiency champion. Savings climbed to $70,000 a month. The CFO noticed, and so did the CEO. They invited me to present at the annual board meeting. I was nervous but ready. This was my chance to show what we'd achieved. The board meeting was intimidating. Suits, charts, big egos. But I had the numbers. I presented our $70,000 monthly savings, projecting $840,000 a year. I shared stories of my co-workers' contributions, giving them the spotlight. The board applauded. The CEO asked me to lead a company-wide efficiency program. I accepted, knowing this was bigger than my hours. It was about lasting change. My hours were fully restored, with a raise. But the real reward was seeing the company transform. We weren't just cutting costs. We were working smarter, together. The suggestion box kept growing, and so did our impact. We launched a green initiative, cutting energy use by 15%. Savings hit $80,000 a month. I couldn't believe how far we'd come in just a few months. Looking back, I realized something. They cut my hours to save money, but they didn't expect me to fight back. I didn't just save my job, I saved the company from itself. Every dollar we saved went back into the business, not just the executives' pockets. We got better equipment, more training, even bonuses. My daughter's school supplies? Covered. My rent? Secure. I'd turned a loss into a win. Now, I'm not just an employee. I'm a leader. The efficiency program is expanding to other branches. My coworkers look to me for guidance, and I'm happy to give it. We're not done cutting waste, but we're doing it together. The company is stronger, and so are we. I proved that one person can make a difference, not by shouting, but by acting. And I'm not stopping anytime soon. This journey taught me something powerful. Setbacks are opportunities in disguise. They cut my hours, but I cut their waste. I turned frustration into progress, anger into action. If you're facing a challenge, don't just accept it. Find a way to flip it. Look for the cracks, the waste, the things nobody else sees. You might just change everything. I did, and I'm still going. Join me, and let's keep pushing for better. If you loved this story of turning a setback into a triumph, subscribe to my channel for more. I share tips on spotting inefficiencies, taking control, and making a difference, no matter where you work. Hit that subscribe button, join our community, and let's keep cutting waste together. See you in the next video.